Hello and welcome back to the Magic Mirror podcast. I'm your host, as always, Khan the Trinket Mage, and with me is 33 Elk.
Hello.
How have you been this week, Elk?
Overall pretty good. I'm just off of a 4.5 hour live stream. It was a lot of fun.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, no, for sure. My throat's a little bad, but that's what I get for talking for 4.5 hours.
And we're gonna have to start off with some tragic news. We lost the Cedh Rules Committee.
Terrible.
Hardly knew ye.
What a horrible loss. Horrible.
We lasted like a week, maybe?
Less. I was it even a thing at all if it never affected even a single tournament? It's like, it was just a bad idea from the start. Maybe you want to tell the story a little bit in case a viewer doesn't know what we're speaking on.
I think it's, yeah. I mean, as far as I know, basically, some group of people who were working with somebody at topdeck.gg, which is like a tournament organizing website, announced on Twitter that they're making the competitive commander rules committee, where they're going to have a different ban list talking about bans focused on competitive commander and tournament results and so on and so forth.
Yeah. That's the gist, and you really just can't do this. The issue is that CEDH isn't really its own format, in my opinion. This is my take on it. I
mean, it's just true.
Yeah, well, yeah, of course, but CEDH isn't its own format. You can't set your own rules for it. It's primarily a product of having a format to begin with. I've touched on this on some video before. I can't remember exactly which one, but basically the gist is that when you have a format, there is going to be a subset of people, maybe a majority, maybe a minority, that finds it fun to push the power within the rule set. That's just what they do, and that's their fun, and good on them, of course. But when you start saying, okay, we're going to ostracize this group of high power people, as most Commander players tend to do, and we're going to give them their own rule set over here, what's going to happen is, even if that takes off and gets implemented into tournaments, you're going to have those people come back down to whatever the new casual commander is and optimize there instead, because CEDH isn't a format. It's like a mindset of people in a format. So it's kind of weird to try and splinter off and do your own thing. And when that's just not the remedy, Yeah,
exactly. And like, people don't realize that if you banned, 6 billion cards in casual commander, regular commander, whatever, such that Baneslayer Angel became the best creature in the format, then all the CDH decks would be the ones playing Baneslayer Angel, and the casual decks would be the ones playing Hill Giant. Like, it literally doesn't matter. It's just whatever the strongest thing is in the format.
Yeah, exactly.
There just happens to be a big gap between casual and competitive decks.
Yeah, so doomed from the start. It was fun being on Twitter for those 2 days.
I was so excited to build a CEDH deck, a casual deck for the competitive EDH format, which would probably just be my normal casual decks, because none of the cards in casual would get banned for competitive, so I would just play normal EDH at that point.
I mean, I understand the opinion that the RC is kind of a standstill. To me, the RC is a little bit of a it's less of a actual rules committee and more of like a panel of popular faces within the community, and I actually think that's pretty healthy for the game generally. Rule 0 is very pushed nowadays. Like, everyone's like, play with what you want, set the rules for your table, how you want to play Commander, how you want to experience it. And in this era of Rule 0, having the panel be mostly people who are popular, who are pushing the game forward, I mean, that's just going to be like the natural outcome of that. And I don't think it's necessarily toxic one way or the other. There's positives and negatives to it, but it's certainly an interesting place to live. We haven't seen a ban since like forever.
Yeah, it's been a while.
It's been like, was it Hullbreacher, Golos?
I think it was Golos, right? Hullbreacher, maybe?
They got banned at the same time, I'm pretty
sure. One of those two. Oh, was it the same one? Then yeah, it was that one.
Yeah, that was like 2020, 2021.
Yeah. It's just kind of a funny idea. I was hoping that they would at least get one tournament under their belts. So maybe CDH players would at least get to see that data, see what a format without. I think Ristic Study was on the chopping block for their ban list. I don't know. They barely had any information. It ended instantly. But I would love to see like the tournament data from a format without Ristic Study.
Yeah, no,
It'd be a cool test.
That would be very interesting to see. I remember always like there was a few legacy creators who played against each other, and they were like, "What if Grief was banned today?" And before Grief was banned, of course. But
yeah, like that would be. I don't know. I think it would be cool, but whatever. I was hoping they would at least do something, but
yeah,
who knows? But we have made our own rules. No, we're just gonna look at the ban list today in honor of the fallen RC.
Yeah, of course.
We decided to take a look at the cards on the ban list and discuss all of the cards we disagree on.
Yeah, we have a few exceptions to the disagree on. We have a couple of ones where we agree, but we just want to give a note or two more about the reason they're banned and whatnot. But for the majority, we went through the ban list already. We saw which cards we agreed on, which cards we didn't agree on. And it's the didn't agree on cards that we're going to be talking about more than anything.
So before we get into the main topic here, though, we got to talk about our sponsor, Card Elk. They make dry erase tokens. If you use our affiliate link, it supports the channel, and you can use code MAGICMIRROR to get 10% off. Thanks to Card Elk for sponsoring the podcast.
Starting off our list for bans, or rather, bans that should be unbanned in our opinion that we disagree on, it's Braid's Cabal Minion. I would like to hear your opinion first, honestly.
Okay, yeah, I think this card is like fine, honestly. A lot of people are scared of it in the sense that you can go like land Lotus Petal, cast it on turn 1, or land Jeweled Lotus, cast it on turn 1. Here's the thing about casting it on turn 1. It's not actually that good. Your opponents will just sandbag. Just don't play your land, just don't play anything. Wait 2 turn cycles, and the Braids player will either sack all their own lands or sack their own Braid. And they don't actually get ahead in this capacity. They don't really get that far ahead at all. It's pretty hard to make an early Braids do something without another like token generator, permanent generator in play. I've actually played against this. Some people rule zeroed it, and I've never had an issue with it, really. Like, it's strong. I want to clarify. It is very strong. I think it would be a high power commander, in the, realm of, like, Turgid or, I don't know, the Ur-Dragon or whatever strong commander you think. It's not, like, nothing.
Yeah, for me, I just don't know if it promotes, like, a healthy, fun environment for people to play in. This is entirely predicated off of Jeweled Lotus existing. If Jeweled Lotus didn't exist, I would totally be happy with Braids unbanned. And there is no ban for Commander, and I'm willing to honor that a little bit from the RC, that ban for Commander might not be the healthiest thing to have. So
I like one ban list. It's very clean.
Yeah, one ban list feels clean, exactly. So when it comes to that, Jeweled Lotus, putting this in play turn 1, Timmy has his, forest in play, and he passed after turn 1, has to sacrifice his forest. He only kept like a 3-lander. And then is he going to have any fun? The answer is generally no. And I don't think I want to be like bringing people into the game with that.
That's like getting hit with a Crack the Earth or something. Like, is Crack the Earth going to actually end the game for you?
Yeah, that's true. But I'm living in the world here, like thinking of, Jeweled Lotus. We get Braids out turn 1. Pass. Everyone sacks their first land drop, replays a land, or holds back, like he said. You sack your swamp, and then you re-swamp Dark Ritual Ophiomancer, Jadar, Ghoul Caller of Nephalia. Like,
yeah. If you have the like perfect 7, but like I don't know, you win the game.
Lotus Petal.
You can do that with anything.
I suppose so, but it's just like
right. I can perfect 7 win the game with a Turgid in like a devastating way.
It has a bit of the Hole Breacher problem where it ends the game without ending the game. There's going to be like a stubborn player who's like, let's play it out. And it's like, there's nothing to play out. And it's like, but you can't deny that to them. And it's like, it's just going to be frustrating. And this is all the deck does. It's, I don't know. It's like, just put Smokestack in your cool normal deck. It's colorless. You can run it in any colors, It's a braids that scales over time. It's fun. Like, if you want the smokestack experience, you can have it.
I think you're thinking of this all wrong. If I want to like pub stomp, stacks lock everyone out of the table, I can already do that. It's not even like 100% I can do that. I can do that easily. Easy. Right? I could play Turgrid and fully max it out to get the perfect 7 and crush the table.
Yeah.
But like, I don't know. This is like a different style of stacks. It's a unique card. It's a build around commander. It's like the forced sacrifice stuff, and we don't have too much of that in the command zone. We have forced sacrifice cards, but we have no commander for it. I think it's like a cool, fun, high power card. I don't see why it should be banned, honestly. And this is another like we're talking about ideal scenarios where they're able to like dark red, mana crypt it out, right? Use every piece of fast mana at their disposal. Who is this? Like, who is this person that is playing all fast mana against 3 precons?
I know a few people.
But you could do that anyway. That's my point.
Yeah.
If the argument is people will use this to pub stomp, I can pub stomp easy. I can bring my CDH deck against casuals, crush them all in a 3 turns. Who cares, right? I don't think that's an argument to keep anything banned. Why not let people play with the card?
I guess, but it's just like, it feels so wrong because it can lead to so many non-games. It can lead to just unfun starts, and it's like, I don't know. Anything that adds time to a commander game.
Have you played against it? I don't think it's as strong as people remember it being.
Yeah, I could see that being the
I think
case.
a lot of people just continue to play their lands into braids.
I would want to play against braids for sure. I'm willing to be humbled by it.
Well, you mean you just beat the braids deck?
Yeah, no, I would like to see. I mean, I'm still dubious. I don't really have that strong of an opinion beyond, like, I don't think unbanning it really adds much to the format. And I think the negatives are outweighing the positives still.
I don't know. I want it for CDH. I want it for CDH pretty bad. I want a strong stacks commander in black.
Yeah.
We have Tevish Zot and like Tymna, but it's like
Tymna is.
I don't know if
pretty
they do
good.
the same thing that braids. Tevish Tymna's like decent. It's not quite strong enough. I don't know if I think braids might be better. I'm not sure. And it's hard to say. Our next card is Fast Bond.
Yeah, Fast Bond.
I think that it is crazy that you think this card is chill. It's so nuts. Okay, so Fast Bond, right? Maybe we should read this one because I don't know if everybody even knows what this does. 1 green for an enchantment. You may play any number of lands on each of your turns. But whenever you play a land that wasn't the first land you played, it deals 1 damage to you.
Yep, Fast Bond. As Trinket alluded to, I want this freed from the ban list. I do run a lands deck personally in Commander. And for me, personally, I've seen people play Burgeoning. I've seen people play Explore. And ultimately, what Fast Bond and Burgeoning get surprisingly close to one another. And you end up going Hellbent really fast unless you are a Wheels deck. That is the one.
Yeah, I was about to say.
Draw like, 7s are really good with Fast Bond.
Yeah, do you, like, I feel like Burgeoning is a good comparison. It is a powerful card, especially on turn 1. This, in a Wheels deck, is way stronger than Burgeoning, right? You go Fast Bond, land, wheel, land. Wheel, land.
Yeah.
Right? Like, that's ridiculous, right? That's clearly too strong. And if you have, like, a Crucible effect plus a fetch land, you can just get every land in your entire deck, every fetchable land.
Well,
right?
you pay 2 life for each one, yes.
Yeah, sure, whatever. You get, like, 20 mana and then you win the game.
So, okay. You do need to get it in play first. The Crucible effect. You also need a fetch land. You also need to not be grave hated. You also need to have both those cards in play, like you said before. Fast Bond is an incredibly powerful card. I do agree. However, there are interaction points, a lot of them, mostly around the graveyard, mostly around artifact enchantment. There is some counterplay to this.
I mean, yeah, but you were just talking about, like, braids. It's 4 mana, though. Braids is 4 mana, right?
Yeah.
I didn't even bring up removal because I'm just assuming you're ritualing it into play. This doesn't need fast mana. It's just 1 green. Like, the interaction points are so much smaller when you play this on turn 1
Well,
without needing any fast mana.
I'll come around. I'll come around.
Okay.
If fast bond gets unbanned, people are gonna play Armageddon more, and I feel like that's a world we need to be living in. And Ruination, like you get all of your lands.
Don't you just counter that by playing combos and use fast bond as a piece of fast mana that plays more rituals? It's like a super ritual, and you just play into your combo, so they don't have time to Armageddon.
You do need to hit a lot of lands to super ritual. This is once again getting into like the perfect hand theorem, where it's like, yeah, you need like you need a wheel and you need enough lands to cast the wheel.
I think outside of perfect hand, I think if you play this and drop 2 additional lands, you're so far ahead.
Oh yeah, no, Explore is an awesome card, even in and of itself.
And this is a double Explore, let's say. That's not even the perfect hand, right? That's not too crazy. Just this and 3 lands.
You're not far off from doing that with just normal Explore, though. When you get a normal Explore, here's what happens. Explore, extra land. Next turn, you play your last 2 lands in hand. And then...
Right, but this lets you go fast bond, land, 2 mana ramp spell.
Yeah, in the same vein though, you can do that with burgeoning as well. I mean, you can come off with but you could also crop rotate off of immediately the 1 green, get your Ancient Tomb. You know, there's plays, and
yeah, but here's the difference between this Explore and burgeoning. The big difference. Late game, this is a combo piece. Those are not combo pieces late game.
That's true.
Dead cards.
You know what? That's not something I actually factored in, is that combo pieces, like Fast Bond is a combo piece for a lot of combos, especially mostly with any card that gives you 1 life on landfall.
Yeah. And then you can do like something that sacks a land and then like loop it. Yeah, there's lots
that definitely is a piece of power that I certainly neglected to think about, was just the combo potential in the late game in particular. Like comboing early is pretty difficult, but like late game drawing Explore is really bad. Late game drawing Fast Bond, you probably swing it into a combo. No, that makes sense.
I mean, it's a crazy card. Like, this card's kind of nuts.
Oh, yeah.
Also, man, reserve list, if it got unbanned,
that's true.
Good lord. It'd be so expensive.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Which I know is something we're going to talk about with a few other cards.
Oh, yeah, no. Like, I'm just saying, like, in terms of power level, I didn't think Fast Bond was there. But, and I think it could be now, but it's just mostly wheels that are the problem. It's not really Fast Bond's fault. It's the wheels.
But you can't ban every wheel.
I wish we could. I hate wheels.
I love wheel decks. People play them poorly, so they're like free wins.
Yeah, no, I definitely think Fast Bond doesn't have power in it. I think it's all in the wheel. The combos.
I'm interested to see what the comments are on Fast Bond.
Yeah, for sure. There's definitely not gonna be a lot of people happy with what I've said, but Fast Bond in and of itself is not a strong card. It's the wheels that break it.
I don't think anybody's gonna be happy with us after this video. I feel like we got a lot of hot takes in here.
Oh, for sure.
Speaking of hot takes,
Hole Breacher.
So you still hate this because you hate wheels, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. When you get wheeled Hole Breachered and your hand is gone and the person who wheeled has like 500 treasures in play, most of the time they don't end the game. And there's like a sliver of hope, a slight chance that you just top deck like the Swords to Plowshares or the Farewell, and then the game's continuing. It's a little bit gnarly, to say the least. And this is like worse than Braids and worse than Fast Bond, in my opinion, in the fact that this is coming down later in the game, because now we have way more interaction points. And then once the interaction happens, we just have 3 hellbent opponents and 1 person with 7 cards in hand and a ton of mana. And sometimes that person with 7 cards didn't draw the right 7 to close the game out, and we're sitting here for another hour, top deck mode. It's not really like the formula for a fun game.
I think it's fine to unban. All right, and all right, hear me out. This is gonna be a bit weird in terms of its reasoning. Hold Bridge or Wheel was a CDH combo, right? And we have many of those in the format, right? Nobody's playing Oracle Consultation in casual tables, right? So those are fine, yeah? And it's because people in their mind go, oh, it's a CDH combo. And, hang on, here's the other real reason. When Thassa's Oracle got printed, casual players were not playing demonic consultation, right? Forbidden tutors are something that you really only see in Cedh. When this got printed, a bunch of Timmies saw it, said, oh, it goes in wheel decks. I have a wheel deck. I put it in the wheel deck without thinking anything further from that. The same thing would happen today if they just reprinted straight Gilded Rank. Right? Timmies would see the card, go, oh, it goes in a blink deck. I have a blink deck. And then that card would get banned because everybody's commanders would get stolen all the time. Now that this has been banned, everybody's taken it out of their decks. It saw some legacy play, so it had some value at some point. You maybe probably sold it off. Timmies aren't going to be cracking this from a pack anymore. So now we can unban it, right? It's all been removed from everybody's decks. We can unban it, and it goes back to being, oh, it's a CEDH card like Thassa's Oracle is. You don't see Thassa's Oracle in casual tables. You probably wouldn't see this in casual tables either.
I mean, but we live in a world where we want Thassa's Oracles like banned anyway, so it's like
sorry, I don't want the Forbidden Tutors banned. Like, I'm fine with Forbidden Tutor Lab Man.
Of course. But like Thassa's Oracle, it's I don't know. For me, Hull Breacher, it's like it's a pirate. Ooh, I'm building my pirates deck. Here it goes, and it's like,
yeah, but you don't put wheels in your pirate deck.
I could see it, but basically, sure, it might have a reputation for being a CEDH card, but you can't count on everyone new to the game understanding that reputation. And they see this card, they see it in EDH rec, right? Under the, oh, I'm building my Arjun Wheels, or I'm building, Nekuzar. And they see it in the EDH rec database. This is how most new players build their decks. And they go, oh, this card is crazy with a wheel. I'm going to put it in my wheels deck. And they're new. They don't have the knowledge. And it's just like you're acting on community information that someone might not have. They bring it to the table, and then suddenly no one's having any fun. I mean, I don't really have fun when anyone plays Nekuzar, but like I would have extra not fun if someone slammed a Hull Breacher into a wheel.
Then somebody Hull Breachers into wheels one time, and they're like, hey, oh no, that's like a competitive combo. You don't usually play that at casual tables. And then they'll learn, like, what the community teaches them. Just be kind about it.
Yeah, of course, be kind about it. But, like, I'm not saying, like, bully the kid out of the table.
No, obviously. I know you're not saying that's more for, in general.
Yeah, of course. And, yeah, I don't know. It's just a rough card.
Do you really think that people would just dust it off and throw it right back into their wheel decks and play it against precons?
Not against precons, but like against like I could see it trickling down to a more casual table. For me, the thing that breaks this card beyond belief is the fact that you get a treasure token for each one. Like you can wheel combo with Spirit of the Labyrinth, for instance, right?
Yeah, I mean you can also wheel combo with Notion Thief.
I mean, yeah, but the thing is that Notion Thief just draws you extra cards. It doesn't give you mana. Spirit of the Labyrinth doesn't give you extra mana. And also, it doesn't have flash, Spirit of the Labyrinth. It's a very heads up, like, I'm going to combo right now. So what ends up happening is Hull Breacher is this perfect storm of flash, treasure generation, that it's really hard to... I hate gacha card designs. Like, I think Containment Priest was, like, the first and only one that was okay. Like,
I mean, I do agree the flash is like kind of cringe on it, because it lets you like, hold up and wait and know about it. But again, like, I don't know, I feel like people can self-police, especially with, I think it's very different when it's printed into Commander Legends, the set where all the casual Commander players are going to be cracking and buying and getting cards for, right? I think it's very different to crack the card from a pack and go, oh, I got this powerful card, I'm going to do the powerful thing, rather than when you build your deck, I'm going to go out of my way to do the powerful thing. I think that happens way less.
Maybe. I don't think we should, like, really be thinking about a ban on, like, a societal sort of, like, oh, like a community-based, like, oh, people might crack this card and then use it in their deck, versus we just won't reprint it into a casual set, or, like, quote-unquote casual set, and then people won't use it. I feel like I think you should just be doing it based on raw power instead of sort of doing it based on vibe.
Yeah, but we don't ban based on raw power anyway. What's the point of that? right? That was the other rules committee.
Yeah, but the truth is that there are a few cards that aren't
Banned for power. I know.
that are bound for power, and I think Hold Breacher makes the cut. The Flash is really what gets me the most. Like, the reason why Narset's fine is, like, comes into play. All right, great, we have a Planeswalker in play now. It's like like everything's sorcery speed, and I feel like the Flash is really what pushes over the edge the treasures. There's just like too many things turned to 11 here.
Yes and no. Narset's harder to spot remove. That's the thing, is like Narset Windfall is really hard to interact with because you probably don't have instant speed interaction for Narset.
Yeah, like every table doesn't have like a Rhystic Study and a Force of Will in their hand. Look at CDH.
That's why I want it back, is for CDH, because Rhystic Study is so stupid. There's too much card draw.
Rhystic Study.
I really want this card printed in green. That's it. That's the end of this. I want this card printed in green.
I want to move on.
Lutri. Okay, so Lutri has to be banned because of the way companions work, right?
Yeah, you can't unban Lutri right now. It's a little bit, it's just too free.
Right, but here's my pitch. I hate how companions work in the format. It's the 101st card, which breaks the whole 100 card thing. It's the 101st card. Most decks really can't utilize it. Like, people try to play their companion, when I see it, as a secondary commander, and then it dies once, and they're like, oh, it doesn't go to the companion zone, so it's just gone. So most of the time, other than Jagantha, most of the time when I see companions, it's just in the command zone. But I see lots of people play Obosh in the command zone, which is sweet. It's a great commander. You can't really just put it as the companion, because once you lose it, it's mostly gone. So I think the companion rule should be changed, or the rules for bringing cards outside the game should be changed back to how they were before companions got printed, so that companion doesn't work. Because I know the rules committee changed it so Wizards could sell more packs. That's great. Cool. Awesome. They sold the packs, right? We're not selling any more Ikoria packs. Let's change the rule back. Companions don't work. Unban Lutri. I can put the cool otter in my command zone.
Listen, I want Lutri in the command zone so bad. I love Narumeha, and like, this is better Narumeha.
Right, it just isn't Narumeha.
It isn't Narumeha. It would be so cool. But the thing is, companion is just such a cool word. I love that it works in companion.
Oh, no.
In commander. This is anecdotal, but I have seen 2 decks today that were companioned already. I like I said earlier, I did a deck review stream with viewers. There was an Obosh companion. There was the big hippo.
And their deck would be better if Obosh was in the command zone. I'm sorry.
It would. Would it be a better deck? Yes, but it would be less fun.
Yes, I helped them. No, it wouldn't be less fun. Obosh is fun in the command zone.
I love companion. I love deck building restrictions. It's so much fun. It is so much fun to build around a companion, even if it makes your deck worse.
I wish it wasn't the 101st card.
That's fair.
That would be huge, because then Lutri wouldn't be a actual free ad. It would be a
free ad.
A cost. It's a mostly free ad.
It's better than a free ad. It makes your deck smaller.
It gives you I guess, like, background or partner or whatever. It'd be really powerful. But then you'd have to cut a real card for it. It wouldn't be like an instantly free ad, you know?
Yeah, but cutting a card from your commander deck's good.
Yes. For CDH purposes, yeah.
Well, for any purposes. Making your deck not 1%, but, around there, more consistent. That's an upside.
Depends on the list, I think.
I think generally, I think, oh man, I would love if there was no, at least, I need to say this, Yorion, this just came to mind, should really work in Commander. You should be allowed to have more than 99 cards in your deck. You can play Battle of Wits now? Oh my gosh, come on.
I don't want that rule change. That's a different video. Let's see with the ban list. I hate companions so much. It's the worst mechanic ever printed. It should
have never ever been printed, but now that we have it, it's been errated. I mean, I kind of like it in Commander. And it was great for limited, let me tell you. As a limited player, companion was awesome.
I mean, that was the point of it. They were supposed to be uncommons for limited, and then they changed it later.
Yeah, it really is very, 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 very not good that they made this mechanic. I want to make it entirely clear that I think Companion was a horrible, horrible, horrible design mistake.
Yeah.
Awful, 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 bad R&D. But they're very fun to build around. Any deck building restriction is very fun. And I like them in Commander. So that's my 2 cents.
All right, last unban that we disagree with, Paradox Engine. This card, I actually think my reasoning is almost identical to Hull Breacher. I think it was printed at the wrong time. So it was printed around the same time that Thrasios came out. And a lot of people thunk to themselves, oh, I'm going to play my new partner, Thrasios whatever. And I'll grab Paradox Engine, and I have these mana rocks. And oh, look at that. It lets me dirtle. It's good, quote unquote, right? It's good together. So then they would play Thrasios, they would play Paradox Engine, they would cast a random spell, activate Thrasios, cast a random spell, activate Thrasios, cast a random spell, activate Thrasios, take 10 minutes, pass the turn, nobody plays artifact removal, pass the turn, pass the turn, pass the turn, no artifact removal. Back to the Thrasios player's turn. Now, they're not winning, of course, because like activating Thrasios is not super great with Paradox Engine. Traditionally, if you were to play Paradox Engine in like a dedicated deck around it, you would be filled with cantrips and tutors because each cantrip becomes a ritual, and the tutors become rituals, and the game ends after like 3 or 4 spells are cast. So people would just dirtle and dirtle and dirtle. But now, Thrasios doesn't see much play at casual tables. There are very few of the most popular commanders that actually could utilize this. Again, I think it's just a CEDH card. I think it would be locked behind the upper power levels, and I think it would be really fun and interesting.
This would definitely be, it would be fun to Paradox Engine storm off at a CEDH table for sure. But the number of times I've seen the One Ring hit the table at a casual game, and we just live in a One Ring world right now, and Paradox Engine with the One Ring is the most disgusting combo of cards ever.
It's really good. Actually, I think that One Ring should just be banned, by the way. But maybe we'll talk about that later in this episode. Wait, no, we both agree on that, do we?
I would love to have Paradox Engine in competitive Commander. It's just I don't think it's going to live there.
No, I meant the One Ring.
The One Ring? Yeah, no. I hate that card so much. But
okay, that's why we didn't put it on the list, right?
Paradox Engine, like if it got unbanned today, I would put it in Tekethal, yes, and I would start taking 20-minute turns. I have a Tekethal artifact combo deck, and it's just like, yeah, I'm gonna.
Yeah, that deck probably already takes 20-minute turns.
No,
what's the difference?
Right now I use Filigree Sages and win, but
oh, then you would do the same.
Well, you have to draw the cards each time, right? Like it's not actually infinite mana. Okay. You have to like put a spell in between each of them. It's a little bit more involved than a Filigree Sages.
I practice your storm and then get it down to like 5 minutes.
Well, here's the thing. I might practice my storm.
I've been playing storm decks forever.
Yeah, no, I play so much Magic the Gathering, right? Like Magic is my life, but someone else isn't going to be able to do that. And like not everyone can do that. And then you lead to 20-minute games. Even I can have like a 20-minute turn, like flipping Bolas' Citadel, stuff like that. Like Paradox Engine.
Oh, Bolas' Citadel is way worse because it actually casts like real spells. See, with this at a casual table, whenever I saw it at a casual table, they would like dirtle, do nothing, and then you would just destroy the Paradox Engine, and then that would be it. A Bolas' Citadel just ends the game because they just cast a massive board, and then next turn they win.
Well, that's fine. Ending the game is good. Paradox Engine doesn't do that. It does sometimes when you have like a nice Isochron Scepter combo, but you need to but to get to the Isochron Scepter combo, you need to start drawing your deck with Paradox Engine trigger, cast a spell, Paradox Engine trigger, cast a spell, Paradox Engine trigger, and then it's like
no, but I don't think people, here's the thing, is like you're talking about the One Ring, that's only going to happen in CEDH because casual players don't play combos. They're going to flip their One Ring 19 times, draw no combo, realize they can't win, and then take 34 damage to the One Ring or whatever, right?
I wish I lived in that world. I think we're not giving some players enough credit. They will find a win with half their library in their hand, I hope.
Then they just storm off and win. That is the same as a storm deck, right?
It's just
I'm allowed to play storm and casual commander, yeah.
Oh, yeah, of course, but it's just like
okay, then
Paradox Engine takes.
Why can't I play artifact
Paradox
storm?
Engine just takes too long. It's like
I think it's legitimately Thrasios. I seriously think because Thrasios is such a bad cantrip. It is a 4 mana, like, nothing. It's like such a poor way to utilize the extra mana. And it's like a deck building trap that people would fall into.
This is coming from someone who loves Dice Factory. Like, I love that modern deck so much.
Yes, Dice Factory is awesome.
I know it's so cool, but it's just like, I don't think it's healthy for Commander. And that's just the end all be all, is like, you have 3 opponents and your turn should probably match the length of theirs. And
I don't buy that.
It kind of breaks that.
I'm sorry, but if you just cast 1 spell past turn without attacking, my turn might take longer than that.
Oh yeah, no,
sorry,
of course.
3 spells.
That's the extreme. That's the extreme. But I'm saying, like, Paradox Engine can lead to long turns, and long turns is probably the only thing I don't like about Commander, besides, like, salty Salt Lords.
I should talk about, maybe we should do an episode about things that, like, make us salty, but, like, for me, like, long turns because you didn't think about your turn and you were on your phone the whole turn cycle, that's what annoys me. I don't care if you're casting spells.
Oh yeah,
and
of course.
doing
If you're like
something,
comboing off maybe actively, but
right, have fun.
It does,
play a game of Magic. It's fine.
Paradox
but
Engine
if you're taking a long turn,
it doesn't feel like thinking.
that's the problem. Is people were just putting it in random decks. They weren't building a Paradox Engine deck. They were just like, it's a card I can play. It's good with Mana Rocks. I have Mana Rocks in my deck. Boop boop. Here we go. And like that was every single time I ever saw the card. And it never won any games of casual play. It was crazy. You just blew it up if you were sick of it, or you could leave it in play because they wouldn't do enough to win. Like they couldn't do anything. I don't care if you activate Thrasher 6 times. I'm gonna swing at you. You're gonna lose. Yeah. So there are 2 cards that we think would be fine in the format.
Yeah. We just had like a couple of notes. The first one is Ionia.
Is that how you say it?
I mean, how would you say it?
I thought it was just Iona.
I guess I did put like a little bit of a spin in there, like an Ionia. Yeah, no, Iona. You're right. I put a Y there.
I'm probably wrong. I don't know.
First card we're talking about is Iona.
Yeah.
We agree that this should be unbanned.
Yeah, it's like such a nothing.
Listen, I understand the reason why it's banned vaguely. It's like, oh, we have a mono black deck, we have a mono red deck, and then you just like name the color of their deck and they just can't play the game anymore. But it's like it's a 9 mana angel and you'd have like, okay, you could reanimate it, right? That's the joke, is you could reanimate it. We live in a world with Beseju. You could blow up the animate dead that's on it, like without having to cast a spell.
You can
Otawara. Like you can have game against Iona, and and I don't know. I feel like the play patterns are more fun than what people think. So I also just love big dumb angels. It's probably not the healthiest card, but it's like also like if you lose to Iona, you probably kind of deserved it at least a little bit.
Yeah, I feel like every time I've seen it, it's pretty rare that it actually fully shuts down a deck. Oftentimes you have some artifact in cast. At the very least, you're doing something, or you activate abilities of something, and then like it just gets swept up in a board wipe. Like there's so many board wipes that I feel like it's hard for your other opponents to just leave it in play.
That's fair too. Yeah, I wasn't even thinking about the blasphemous.
It's a 7/7 flyer.
Like yeah, vanquish the horde, a blasphemous act. Farewell. It's like they do not discriminate.
I remember reading or maybe hearing on a podcast when this was banned, and a member of the RC, I don't remember exactly who, was saying that they felt like this is a card that if someone was at their first game of Commander and they got hit by an Iona, they could potentially quit the game forever. And like, vaguely I can see that.
Yeah.
But I feel like the odds of that happening are pretty low and could happen with a multitude of other cards.
Oh, for
right?
sure. In this
like
this economy,
I reanimate. Yeah. If I reanimate a Jin Cataxis early,
yeah,
and then that player is just out of the game, and it's like, oh, sorry, bud, you needed like 1 mana interaction.
Jin Cataxis is worse.
Jin Cataxis is brutal. Oh my goodness, have you ever been hit by a turn 2 Jin? It's rough.
Yeah, no, like Jin Cataxis works on all 3 of your opponents.
Oh, it's devastating. And like that's not even to mention like in theory someone could, Thassa's Oracle win on turn 1. Like there's so many things. A new player can have a bad or confusing game in like 100 bajillion ways.
You know what? I think I agree with you now that Companion should be banned, because imagine if you have an Obosh deck and someone reanimated like a Void Winnower.
That's really funny, actually.
Or Gyruda. I don't know which one Void Winnower actually does. I think it's odd.
No, it's even.
Okay, then it would be Gyruda. My bad.
But like, I don't know. Like, that's such a whatever. Like, I think it's actually the opposite. This is a learning lesson to a new player. Is you teach them, hey, things are big and scary in this game. There's crazy creatures. There's things that make you discard your whole hand and draw a billion cards. And there's so many wacky things that happen in like this game that you can't just say, here's one wacky thing, and like, oh, they can't cast spells for like 2 turns, and then somebody casts a board wipe because they don't want to die to a 7/7 flyer.
Yeah, exactly.
And then they go back to playing the game, and it's like, okay.
Iona is terminally fair. After all this, I'm also thinking like, why isn't like Lantern of Insight banned? Like it can also enable like nothing games. Like for me, if I get hit by an Iona, I'm like, I'm building a white deck now. Like this is so cool. Like I don't know. It might just because I'm a prison player, but like if I got hit by like something like that, it would be so interesting to me as a new player.
I remember I got back in the day, I was playing Duretti for a while, the Planeswalker, right?
Mm-hmm.
And someone hit me with an Iona, and I was like, I'm an artifact deck. And I just cast Spine of Ishsaw and minus my Duretti to like get it back.
Yeah, no.
And it's like, okay.
Gosh, yeah, no. I'm so sad that Iona's banned.
Yeah, it's a cool card.
Oh, very.
And also, it only shuts down a player if they're in monocolor, right? Like, we're not even talking about the other, like, 95% of the time where somebody's just playing, like, a 3-color deck or something, and they're
Absolutely.
like, oh, I guess I'll just have to play my blue-green cards. Like, yeah, your commander is shut out, but, like, Drannith Magistrate exists. Is that not something that would make someone quit?
Let's move on to Library of Alexandria then, huh?
Yes, Alex's library.
So we both agree that this could be unbanned. In terms of power level. In terms of power level, Library of Alexandria is not as good as it is in 1v1 Magic. Reason being, the strongest play pattern with Library of Alexandria is holding up cheap interaction and drawing an extra card every turn. So turn 1 is Library, turn 2 is Swamp, and then you like dismember your creature, draw an extra card, and then you keep that going for counter spells, for more other removal spells, and
days and ponders.
Exactly,
and
you
stuff,
can just outgrind anything in that sort of format. That falls apart when you have 2 other opponents you need to be interacting with. That like strong play pattern of Library of Alexandria, gone. The only reason it's banned is because of reserve list purposes, and honestly, I think I agree with that. It's just,
yeah, it's already $2,000 as is, and it's not legal pretty much anywhere at all, other than you can play 1 copy in Vintage, and that's it. It's banned in Legacy, you know.
Yeah,
it would easily be like at least 1,000 more if it got unbanned in Commander, and it's just like, here's a $3,000 card that if you want to optimize, you probably would run because it's like a free ad since it's an untapped land.
At least for low color decks, of course.
But it means like every 2 and 1 color CDH deck now would want.
Oh, it's a good way to buff monocolor commanders,
which is kind of nice. But like,
of course, I'm joking.
I feel like there's better ways to do that.
Of course, like Library of Alexandria, just like it is completely and utterly fair in Commander, I believe. But it's just the reserve list, everything like that, it puts too much on it. I'm kind of a hypocrite now with Fast Bond, but I'm a Lance player.
Well, Fast Bond's $30 currently.
Oh,
it's not
really?
$2,000. Yeah, Fast Bond's like 30
just
or 40
cut that
bucks.
out then. Ignore it. I thought it was more expensive than that. For me, okay, going into this podcast thinking about cards that I wanted to ban, I was thinking a lot about the Phyrexian Tower Shivan Gorge cycle where Tolarian Academy is also banned, and we agree that it should stay banned, like no question there. Artifacts are just so plentiful. They go in, like, it's just, they're super cheap.
Well, the 0 mana artifacts are actually good. Like, you can play 0 mana creatures to power your Gaia's Cradle, but Ornithopter is not as powerful as Mana Cradle.
Gaia's Cradle, I mean, the best 0 mana creatures are tokens.
Yes.
For me, the big problem with Gaia's Cradle is that you can get it with like the new Sowing Mycospawn, Crop Rotation, super easy to tutor. What deck would you put Gaia's Cradle in? What green deck? Like every single one, right? Like maybe one with
No.
6 creatures you wouldn't put it in.
I don't play it in my Mina and Den deck.
Really?
Nope. And that is a like budgetless list. I don't know if I'd buy a Guy's Cradle, but for the most part, it's like a pretty tuned
Do you not have the
budgetless list.
Springheart Nantuko or the Scoot Swarm?
No. I'm just going tall. I'm just mid range.
Okay.
Doesn't matter. I'm just casting one card so I can swing it at you. If you kill it, I'm tutoring it and casting it in the same turn.
Yeah, for me, I would put Guy's Cradle in any deck that could make 2 creatures reliably, because then it's just a green Ancient Tomb that doesn't ping me, which is, let's be real, that's like every green deck in Commander.
It's like probably optimal-ish to play in my deck, although I find myself with one creature pretty often.
Well, even though it's just
like
a forest.
Good. Yeah, I don't know. I'm just so much less scared of it. So, we agreed the Academy Ruins is the strongest one.
Not Academy
and,
Ruins. Yeah, Tolarian Academy.
Tolarian Academy, right? That's the Ruins is after.
Oh yeah,
the
no,
fact.
yeah. Ruins is Ruins is a cool card. I like that card a lot.
Yeah, I love that card. Tolarian Academy, way too good, right?
Oh, yeah.
Because
way too good.
The fast mana like accelerates you even further. Cradle, I feel like in creature decks, whenever I see Cradle against me at the table, right? They go like, play my creature, Cradle ramps me into more creatures. And then I board wipe, and they're like, "Oh, my Cradle taps for 0." And then they
well,
do
okay, that's if the player's bad.
but if you're talking about just in casual play, and you're like, "Oh, it's like an Ancient Tomb sometimes," that's kind of just how it's gonna be. I don't really think it's that big.
For me,
a deal.
I'm seeing the Elf deck that goes Elf, and then tap Cradle for Elf, leaves up Heroic Intervention with 2 extra mana they wouldn't have had otherwise, and then next turn Crater Hoof Behemoth kill you, and it's like great. It's like
in this niche scenario where they needed exactly the soul land.
Well, it would have been a soul land in that case. It would have also ramped them into Crater of Behemoth. It would have also
a mega soul land. Yeah.
Mega soul land. You can't just say that. That's mega soul land. Soul means 2.
Mega
soul ring.
It's
a mega soul.
Okay.
My Guy's Cradle tap for 6. It's a mega soul land.
Yeah, exactly.
It's way too strong. I Sarah's Sanctum, fine. I'm willing to concede Sarah's Sanctum.
Okay, all right. We were gonna talk about Sarah's Sanctum. That card is like, name a 1 mana enchantment that's like playable. Name 3 like that you would actually play in an Enchantress deck. It's like enchantments are so slow. They're so.
I know. I could
slow.
see a world one day though where they start like printing enchantments really hard. I don't think we're ever gonna get like fast mana terms of like good cards, but like I could see a future for Sarah's Sanctum.
Do you think that this set is the set that we get the Whir of Invention, Court of Calling for enchantments? Right, because we have Chord, right, which lets you tap creatures and it powers. Then you have Whir, which has Improvise, which lets you tap artifacts. So are we going to get the white one that lets you tap enchantments? Which would be kind of the strongest, since tapping enchantments is the lowest cost, since they don't
I know,
care
but you
if they're
can play
tapped or
way
not.
less enchantments than you can with those other cards.
I know, right? Yeah.
We're
in an enchantment set. I'm kind of wondering if we're gonna
I don't
get
think
that.
we're gonna get that, but it's definitely cool.
Yeah, I want it. I don't know what the black one would be, and I don't know what the red one would be.
Yeah, good question. I'm not too sure. Maybe red one's like exile instance from your graveyard, flash something back. We're getting into custom card territory. Gosh, get us out of here.
We're way off topic, and it's already like 50 minutes into the podcast.
Yeah, we have spoilers to talk about, don't we?
So that's kind of all we wanted to talk about with banning, unbanning cards. Let us know what you think. I imagine you're going to disagree with us a lot, probably. So, leave it in the comments. We'll check it out.
Yeah, the takes were very hot this episode, that's for sure.
It wouldn't be, it'd be boring if we're both just like, oh, Black Lotus is a good Magic card. It should be banned. It's got to be... We're only going to bring the hottest takes, because otherwise, what's the point of talking about it?
A lot of the ban lists we actually both agree with. In fact, it's only 5% that isn't right, and even then a lot of our ban preferences are very personal taste. You want Paradox Engine, yeah. I want Fast Bond, I play Legacy Lands, you play I don't know, it's just it's interesting to our lens on this. So I am very curious to hear about viewers opinions as well, of course. But enough about ban lists. Like you said, we do have some Duskborn spoilers to talk about.
Yes. Okay, can I start? I want to talk about Winter. Okay, the Winter is the new Jund Commander, Winter Misanthropic Guide. And people are talking about this one.
Do you want to read it for everyone? Yeah.
It's Jund. Yeah, it's a Junded 1 for a 3/4 human warlock. Ward 2. At the beginning of your upkeep, each player draws 2 cards. And then it has Delirium. As long as there are 4 or more card types in your graveyard, each opponent's maximum hand size is equal to 7 minus the number of those cards. Which means if you have 7 card types in your graveyard, you can reduce your opponent's hand size to 0. Ooh, scary. And people are like, oh, this is going to ruin my Commander games. It's not. I promise you it's not. Most people don't play enough card draw in their Commander decks as is. This is a benefit. The amount of times I see players at the other end of the table just hellbent. They have nothing to do. This draws you 2 cards for free. Who cares if your hand size is 0? You were only going to draw 1 land and play it anyway. Now you draw 3 cards and you play 3 cards. And then you just leave it in play.
Yeah, this card is so unbelievably awful. And we already live in a world where Jin Gataxias can discard your whole hand on turn 2 anyway. So why aren't we living in the world where Jin Gataxias does that frequently? And even then, if Jin Gataxias read that you draw 3 cards on your upkeep anyway, well, not 3 cards, 2 cards plus your draw step. It's just like, this is so bad. It's okay. Let me rephrase. This commander has game. It's not broken though.
Yeah, like I get it. You play it with your Underworld Breach, Underworld Dreams with the black enchantment that deals.
Oh yeah,
damage.
my 3-color deck running a triple black pip card. Like, that's very hard to do.
there's not that many things in this color that deal damage when you force players to draw, right?
There's a few now. That you have the Razorkin Needlehead coming out this set. There's
sure. I mean, yeah, but here's the thing though: is unlike Nekusar does the damage and draws the cards. This just draws the cards. So if my opponent plays a Winter, I'm not using removal on Winter. I'm using removal on the Needlekin that deals damage to me, and I'm taking the free cards.
Absolutely. That is the biggest difference between this and Nekusar. Nekusar is the way better card, of course. The problem with this card is that it's just very group huggy in a way. That those 2 cards making 3 cards a turn, even if the dream happens and everyone is completely hellbent because of this card, you just draw 3 cards immediately on your next turn. Like, that's not nothing. It's...
Oh my, I can't wait to have somebody cast this. And then I exile their graveyard and I keep 9 cards in hand or whatever.
That's the true thing too, is
right.
The Grave Hate just like actually eats this guy alive as well. There's just so much going against this card compared to like, just the better options that we already have. Jin Gataxias.
I was absolutely flabbergasted that people were like, this is a problem.
It happens every set.
I know, right?
If you want...
Mirkwood Bats, right?
Yeah, exactly. Oh my gosh. Mirkwood Bats is a good card, but once again, just not the hype. That doesn't match it. If you want to talk about actually good cards, though, Head Shredder, this is not... Yes. This is not breaking any formats or anything, I don't think, but it is certainly a good card, and it's definitely very fun as a combo piece with Hedron Crab, where you make a land drop.
You want to read the card?
2 green for a 5/5 artifact vehicle. Crew 1. Ooh, that's nice.
For a 5/5. It's actually pretty crazy.
Whenever it attacks, you may mill 2 cards, and most importantly, this is just a static ability on the artifact. Whenever 1 or more land cards are put into a graveyard from your library, put them onto the battlefield tapped. So
everything else is gravy. It just needs that line
absolutely.
of text.
If it was just 2 green artifact and it had that line of text, it would be hilarious still. Everyone's talking about the deck where you Hedron Crab and then play or you have Head Shredder, and then you make your land drop, and then you just mill your entire library because you like hit a land. It's kind of like Thrumming Stone in the way that you can like whiff potentially, but like once you start getting multiple lands in those mills, because it's not return one of those lands, it's return each land you mill. Imagine traumatizing yourself after this on turn 4.
Oh my God.
Just put half of your lands into play mathematically, It's really funny. It's just such a funny card. I don't know. There's not much else to say beyond that. Like, this turbo ramps.
Oh, it's good. It's so good. I mean, man, this is gonna go nutty in Muldrotha, the Sultai Sidisi, all the Sultai decks that are like, my grave is my hand. They're gonna love this card.
Yeah, in general, I don't think it's gonna be super strong. It's super interactable. if there's any hype,
it's a 4-mana artifact.
It's a 4-mana artifact, and most of the combos make it 5 or 6, sort of mana. It's like, this is going to be super fair. I'm not sure. Basically, what I'm trying to say here is this card's power ceiling is very high, but to actually get there, don't buy into any hype. This card's going to be fair. It's just going to be good when you can abuse it properly. Last card I kind of want to talk about as well is Funeral Room / Awakening Hall. This is the new room card. It's just a Zulaport Cutthroat on one side, and then the other half is a personal Rise of the Dark Realms. It's just nice to have, like, it's like an adventure card in a way. Bastion of Remembrance already sees play. And how often does the 1/1 dork from Bastion of Remembrance really matter too much? Not often. The drain sometimes comes up. It's nice to Skull Clamp it. But if you ever reach that 8-mana threshold, Funeral Room becomes better than Bastion of Remembrance, and at least a side grade to Bastion of Remembrance, in my opinion. It's not strictly better, keep in mind. The 1/1 does matter sometimes, but in general, just don't fall into the framing problem. Run both if you can. There's a lot of decks that would love to have just like 8 of these effects. Blood Artist, Zulaport Cutthroat, Bastion of Remembrance, Funeral Room. Like, just jam them in your deck. They're good.
Yeah, and I think actually the room cards are pretty powerful. They feel like they remind me of Adventures, where like Adventure was really strong because each card drew you, quote unquote, another card, right?
I see a lot of people comparing them to classes, and it's more like an Adventure, where this is like a split card that you can play the other half later.
Yeah, I think it's weaker than Adventure because it's blown up early and then you don't get it, but it's still pretty powerful.
Yeah, no, it's a permanent only Adventure.
Let's move on to the question zone. Welcome to the question zone. This is that's the name of the segment now.
That's awful.
We do questions. In the question zone, we're going to answer a question from Ice Ghost 27, who said, "Yay, very happy this podcast started. I'm not sure how intentional it was in pre-podcast discussion, but I like how Elk took a more bearish approach to each topic, while Mage countered with an optimistic one to balance the viewpoints and avoid a big echo chamber. Wow, I read that horribly. Curious how much of that was planned."
I think this just comes down to our actual views of Commander, at least for that episode. I genuinely, I like Commander. I like playing Commander with friends. Ultimately, though, I see a lot of the flaws in the format. You have a lot of hope for the format. And ultimately, that's just where we landed. This episode, we actually talked a little bit, and I mentioned a few comments that came up like this one that were like, we really liked the Descent between you two, and we just tried to find things on the ban list this episode that we personally either had a conflicting opinion on or had something like profound to say about, just to keep the podcast flowing, because otherwise it's just like, why aren't we making like a ban list tier list video? It's like, I don't know, it feels like just like nothing content if we didn't have something to say or had ideas to bounce off each other. And I actually did like the debates that came out of that first episode, especially. And there's a few in this one too.
Oh yeah, a lot of good comments, a lot of really interesting stuff. Yeah, of
course. And I feel like it becomes a lot more interesting when you don't have two podcast hosts that agree with each other, but they can still like talk and be friends and not like angry about it like it's a card game, you know.
Yeah, I see. That's this is like one of the big reasons that I asked you to be my podcast host in the first place. You know, we had talked before about like videos and stuff, and you were on my stream that one time, which was important. I needed like a vibe check to see you like play Commander, but I was confident you wouldn't be a yes man, and like, because I hate that. Like, I hate that. I think some of the best advice I get is from my friends that I run videos by, like video ideas, and it's the people that will just be like, no, that's stupid. That's the best advice, right? Because I need somebody to tell me when I'm wrong. And I really appreciate that about you, which is, you know, why I thought it would be really great for us to be in the podcast, because I knew you wouldn't just blindly agree.
Yeah. I literally just yes man you there. But
I mean, all right, we don't have to always disagree about everything. I'm not, you know.
I love that you're not a yes man. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree that I like that you love that about an yes man.
No, but that's the answer. Is this episode 100% the descent was at least relatively planned. Episode 1, it was just serendipitous.
What cards? Yeah, we knew what cards we were going to talk about ahead of time this episode, but we didn't. We limited. I purposely did not tell you my arguments.
Oh yeah, same way. We just said this card, ban or unban, and if we had a conflicting opinion, we're like, all right, great, let's save the discussion for the podcast. So the actual like argument unfolding was live, but like the cards and what we were going to talk about, that wasn't. Anyway, great question.
Yeah, great question.
Yeah, leave some more down below. We'll be happy to answer any sort of questions in this sort of mailbag part at the end of the podcast.
Yeah, next time we're in the question zone, we'll answer more questions. We need to
workshop that name.
Leave a better name for the question zone in the comments in the form of a question.
Not in the form of a question. Leave it a better name and a question together. In the form of a question? What are you saying? It's not a riddle. Do you want people to answer?
Yeah, you know what? Leave riddles.
Don't leave riddles in the comments. This is over. We're so off topic.
Nobody is listening this far to the podcast. Don't worry. Nobody listened to the question zone. Maybe we need to bring that up at the start of the podcast so people actually listen to it. Average listening time is like 19 minutes.
Oh, people hate the podcast. It's okay.
It's all right. We fell off.